Hello, you multifarious mystics. I'm glad I eventually got that malt mention. And a big thank you to Martin Lucas van Erp for providing that malt mention. Introducing Ralphie Review 974 here from the Bothy, somewhere in the Irish Sea. And it's a whisky bothy. It's where whisky reviews happen. And I have to say, I don't just stick to the mainstream. I don't stick to the ones that you see all the time on the shelves of travel retail in airports, supermarkets, or in the high street shops and off licenses, off sales and liquor stores. I tend to review a real range of whiskies and other spirits simply to put something onto the internet which gives a wider point of reference as to what's out there at any particular point in time. And in Scotland, at this particular moment in time, you have a lot of new distilleries opening up. An incredible number are opening up, actually. In fact, it's not just a phenomenon that's confined to Scotland. We are seeing a phenomenal increase in the diverse range of English whisky distilleries, and also in Ireland as well, right across the European Union and in the United States. In fact, I'll come back to that in my extras, because I'm going to give a wee comment on something that's happened recently in the US whisky making scene, which I think is very newsworthy, and I want to kind of share it with you, but I'll leave that to the extras. I'm going to pour a blended scotch. Now, for Ralphie regulars amongst you, you're going to say, "Hey Ralphie, it's been almost a year since you reviewed a blended whisky. You know, the blended Scotch whisky that's a combination of column still grain whisky and pot still single malt whisky." And you're absolutely right, because after a few years drinking single malts, you'll generally find blended Scotch to be quite boring. Fine for those who are wanting to buy brands. They want to buy that kind of cliched experience, whether they're playing golf or having a night out in a fancy restaurant, you know, a Scotch on the rocks type experience. They're very, very easy to find, and the majority of bottles of Scotch whisky sold are in fact Scotch blended whisky, which is a combination, as I mentioned, but I'm going to remind you, of grain from a column still and single malt from a pot still. However, just so as you know, you can get blended Scotch that's 100% pot still, and you'll find this from Loch Lomond Distillery if you're curious about doing your research there. You cannot have a single malt from a column still unless you categorise a Lomond still as a column still, which a number of people do. However, this is the kind of confusing thing about Scotch, is that you always find exceptions to the rules. And with the new distilleries coming in and some new independent bottlers, they want to get noticed by the informed customer who's always label browsing, either in the online shops or the high street shops. The people who are looking out to see if there's something new, because if they can buy a bottle or get a taste, they can be the first to talk about it online. So I know for a fact I'm not the first to talk about the Thompson Brothers Scotch blended Scotch whisky, but I'm very happy to share the experience with you, because in my opinion it's a little delightful, eccentric, low volume whisky, which you won't see much of on your travels, but it's the beginning of something. It's the beginning of distilleries taking an interest in creating luxury blended Scotch whiskies, so as they can put a product out into the market which is not as expensive expensive as their single malts, because the industry the ones that are awake in the industry are fully aware that, see, at this moment in time, there's an awful lot of traditional whisky customers got to draw in the purse strings because people don't have the money. And I mean, fuel inflation is a temporary problem that many people have had to address, including myself. But the bigger inflation problem is managing debt. And this is a universal situation, and this is caused by rising rates and mortgages and other loans. So, for one reason or another, people are kind of looking for what you call bargains. And I would suggest that this, I wouldn't call it an absolute bargain, but I would call it very good value, reasonably priced whisky. I'm going to smell it, taste you, tell you all about it, and basically introduce this to you and explain why I think it's such a good value whisky. Let's start with the price. You can buy this in the UK for £33 a bottle. That equates to about $38 or about 36, 37 euros. At today's whisky prices, when you have young single malts selling for about £60, even at 4 or 5 years old, they may be good whiskies, but do they represent particularly good value? I would suggest yes. I would say yes, they do, if the quality is there. But here's a whisky where, as soon as you nose it, the quality is absolutely there. And it's there for a number of reasons. Now, I know I've been taking my time and got a little bit, heaven help us, long-winded introducing this review, but I feel that I need to, because I feel I need to give this an explanation as to why it's in the barrel. And the simple reason is it's really good value whisky at a very good price where I am. And it's unlikely you're going to find this bottle where you are. However, give it a bit of time as the Thompson brothers continue distillery at Dornach, continue to expand their business and coexist as both a single malt whisky distillery and independent bottler, who are already getting a reputation of bottling good stuff because they have the contacts in the industry to get access on the secondary cask market to buy good stuff. Well, we're all playing Sherlock Holmes here to try and get a good buy. So this is worth mentioning, because at some point, and I'll tell you, see, for you, if you're in the United States of America, it's only a matter of time, with all this fever going on over some seriously overpriced mediocre bourbons, when that starts to get a little bit worn out, when people start to come to the senses, people are going to look for better value for money. And I'm going to make a prediction. We're going to see a new generation of American single malts whiskies, which are young single malt whisky and bottled in small batches, but representing good value for money. Because there's a zeitgeist going on in the US at the moment. And the same is happening in Ireland and the rest of Europe, the continent of Europe. And the reason is that despite the bureaucracy and all the red tape that they have to deal with, there is a strong network of enthusiasts who are supporting small distilleries who realise they can't just cater in terms of what they bottle to the high-end customer with big spending power. They've got to capture that customer in the middle who's swithering about, hang about. The single malt's too expensive, but see this blended malt? That's affordable and it's decent. Bit like this. So let's start with the presentation. 46% unchill filtered, natural colour, and it's blended Scotch. That's eye-catching, and it says it in the back of the label. where it matters. You don't have to email the distillery and get some fed up worker answering the phone and say, no, 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 we don't put colouring in our whiskey. It's all natural, natural, natural. And no, we don't put it in the bottle because I don't know why. We don't put it in the label because nobody's interested. Thank you for phoning along with all the other people that are phoning us. There's a bit of other information. I'm just letting this open up in the glass, by the way. There's things I need to tell you about this. This is why I'm focusing and telling you about it, if you know what I mean. And on the back label, there's a QR code. Can you see that? In fact, I tell you what, I'll hold the QR code up. It should be in focus now. You can now use your mobile device to read that QR code wherever you are in the world, anywhere. Even if you're up in the space station in orbit, you can read that code in your mobile device. I'm sure they get good satellite connections up there, and you can just go and check out the rest of the Thompson Brothers array of independent bottlings. QR codes are a game changer. They need to be taken seriously by each and every single distillery that wants to be taken seriously by their customers. It's a sign of the times. On the back label, they are saying, once rested, so that they're blending the malt component with the grain component. They're marrying the whiskies together, not just putting them together in a stainless steel tank prior to bottling after they've been chill filtered. Hasn't happened here. The casks have been marrying the single malt and the grain whisky, column still grain whisky, together, at which point when they reduce the strength from cask strength to 46%, they're adding water gradually, not all at once. See, when you add water, particularly cold water, in any significant quantity to a matured whisky, it shocks the whisky. And we notice this when we open the bottle, we take a smell and we take a taste and we don't seem to be getting much. It's as if the whole thing has kind of closed down into hibernation status, right? And one reason for that is the shock of rapid water reduction from something like 60% to 40%. So they've added 50% water suddenly within minutes, and it can just shock the whisky. Here, unusually for an independent bottler, they're actually highlighting that because they know that the people that are buying their bottling can probably relate to it and say, aha, that's useful information, not fictitious, ubiquitous, marketing, spin, B-shit. I must commend them for the calibre of for information in the back label. Genuinely useful and genuinely interesting to read. And to be honest, having bought this bottle, at no point in the entire experience have I felt like I've been getting patronised. It's been 6 years old, says it in the label. It's an age statement. 6 years old. Blended malt, sherried. They mention this. You can see it by the colour in the bottle. We know it's a natural colour because they're affirming it on the label. And what I'm getting from this blended Scotch that I don't find with many other blended Scotches, not that I drink many these days, but out in a pub now and again when I'm visiting friends and they twist my arm, I don't want to be rude and just say, oh no thanks please, not another famous grouse. Just couldn't deal with it. Oh, the irony. A lovely, soft, figgy, chocolatey, slightly effervescent sherry nose. Oloroso sherry, gentle, fresh casks, decent quality, slightly muscovado-ish, slightly spicy, and interestingly, I'm not noticing the presence of the grain whisky. Because with the marriage of the grain and single malt prior to bottling, so it's been maturing together for a period of time, is kind of married up. It's really integrated. So you don't get this kind of cut-off line between the malt content and the grain content. They have assimilated each other wonderfully well. And the result is that for £33 a bottle, bear in mind it's 46%, so they're paying higher duty on it, you're getting actually a very good deal money-wise. Sure, you might say, well, you could get Isle of Arran single malt for £36 a bottle. And by the way, if you can, you better stock up now. Because the day of single malts in the UK remaining at £36 a bottle is soon going to be relegated to the dusty history books, because inflation is still driving prices up despite people's reluctance to pay it, despite people's reluctance to accept the fact that this is a money issue, not a distillery trying to make more profit issue. They're just trying to maintain their profit margins. And I speak as someone who talks to distillers and gets an insight into the serious challenges they face, as at times, frankly, they struggle to bring decent whisky to us. So when any business brings us some decent whisky at a decent price, jump at it, invest in it. You don't have to open the bottle on the same day. Cheers. Young, rich, rounded, zesty sherry with gingery citrus notes, some chocolate, a little bit of burnt licorice in the background, and just a lovely quality of sherry casks used to deliver this blend. I would rate this as, if I was going to be told, Ralphie, you can only review blended Scotch whisky for the rest of the year, I frankly, I would be struggling. But at this moment in time, this is easily in the top 10. Easily. This represents, I mean, you will get blended Scotch whisky at 30 years old and 10 times the price of this, which isn't as good. Because so many people are lulled into the suggestibility of the age statement now, particularly with blended whiskies, that it lets the producers use more and more old grain rather than using more and more old malt when they're composing old blended Scotch. And I'm going to add some water and give you a malt mark. Full teaspoon. But I tell you what, you could sip away on this by the fireside for the rest of the evening with maybe 2 or 3 top-ups and go to your bed a very happy person. It's a simple, well-delivered, good quality, practical session blended Scotch, and frankly there are very few of them around. Now, where's the other bottle? Here it is. See if you can't find the sherry version. There's another version. I'm not going to view it because I don't want to be banging on too much about the Thompson brothers, because they've got quite enough positive publicity at the moment. They don't need any more from me. But hey, good luck to the guys. They're getting it right. But hey, well, maybe I will later in the year Yeah, I was going to hold this back and open it in a few years' time, but this is the slightly more expensive one. This is the 8-year-old blended malt, and it's been blended in a Solera vat. Now, Solera vat is a great big, huge, it looks like a washback basically, a big wooden washback, and you pour your whiskey in the top, and it blends together, and you take your whiskey out the bottom, and it's blended together, and whatever you take out the bottom of the barrel, you top up at the top of the barrel. The same quantity for quantity. So it's a very interesting way of doing it, and not many distillers do this technique, but this is 8-year-old, bottled at 48.5%. So again, non-chill filtered, natural colour, integrity delivered, blended malt. Blended malts, I'm going to be reviewing more blended malts this year, because particularly in a moment in time when people are cash strapped and having to prioritise what they're spending their money on, it kind of helps keep us motivated drinking whiskey when there's some genuinely good buys out there, you know, bang for your buck sort of buys. Both of these represent that, and I'm very happy to give a positive review to both of them. This one, of course, not even opened the bottle yet, it's going to have to wait, but hey, I've already tasted it in a shop somewhere in Glasgow, because they knew I'd like it, and they were right, and that's why I bought the bottle. It's a great sales technique for the specialist shop. You'll never get this in Amazon, and you'll never get this in the supermarket, where they give you just a wee taste and try before you buy. Also happens at the distilleries. Cheers. Of course, it's difficult to happen online, but oh, it's lovely. Nice little kind of slight phenolic smoky notes coming through, and a few green savoury notes, a little bit of umami, spicy, slightly miso umami. Miso, that's Japanese seaweed soup. I'm going to add some more water to this. Do you know, it really is a testament to the actual richness. That's two silver teaspoons. I mean, this is not a big, small teaspoon, particularly at the moment holding it right up in front of the camera. This is a big spoon. In fact, it's bigger than my head. Alright, enough of this frivolity. Ralphie, behave yourself. You're recording, you're speaking to the malt mates, drink your whiskey and shut up. See, for the price, you just can't go wrong. This is a brand that needs zero marketing department budget, because the contents of the bottle in relation to the price do all the marketing that's required. 85 out of 100. And where's my blended card? And doing what you could, you know what you could do? You could go into your bottle stash and you could get that a Lagavulin that you opened about 2 or 3 years ago, but you've had more self-control than to finish. And you could add a wee drop of Lagavulin to that, and whoosh, it'll lift the Lagavulin up. It's a blended mark. 85 out of 100. That's a good mark. And I've enjoyed my little brief moment with you. Cheers. Here's to good whiskey, wherever you may find it. And I tell you what, if you join me in Ralphie Review 974 Extras, it is, coming along shortly, I will be telling you a little bit more about where to find good quality whiskey. Because we're in a global village now. Now, where's that Clivey clicker? Here it is. Gotta go.